History books will tell you that in August 1948, three of Lucky Luciano's best killers disappeared in Harlem. The official police report said they skipped town, probably went back to Sicily. Case closed within 24 hours. No investigation, no body recovery, no questions asked. But here's what history books won't tell you. Here's what the NYPD found in a basement on Mulberry Street and buried so deep it never saw daylight. 3 mahogany coffins delivered to Luciano's social club at 3 a.m. Each coffin containing one of his assassins, each body dressed in a black suit, hands folded, perfectly arranged like they were sleeping. And inside each coffin, the same handwritten note pinned to their chest. You sent 3 wolves into my house. I'm sending back 3 sheep. Next time you want Harlem, come yourself. The note was signed with a single initial. B. What Lucky Luciano did next shocked every mob boss in New York. He called a truce, paid Bumpy Johnson $50,000 in cash, and never sent another man into Harlem again. Not because he was scared, because he understood the message. This is that story. To understand what happened in August 1948, you need to understand who controlled what in New York City. Manhattan below 110th Street belonged to the Italians. Lucky Luciano ran it all. Gambling, prostitution, numbers, protection, everything. He had judges in his pocket, cops on his payroll, politicians who answered his calls. He was untouchable. Harlem, everything above 110th Street, belonged to Bumpy Johnson. Different rules, different game, different kind of respect. The Italians wanted Harlem. The numbers game alone was pulling $200,000 a week. That's $10 million a year in today's money, all going to Bumpy instead of the 5 families. Lucky Luciano looked at that money and decided Harlem should be his. He'd taken over the docks, taken over Little Italy, taken over the Diamond District. Why should Harlem be different? So in July 1948, Lucky sent word to Bumpy through Illinois Gordon. Lucky wants a meeting. About what? Territory discussion. Bumpy knew what that meant. It meant Lucky wanted a piece of Harlem, wanted to put his gambling operations in black neighborhoods, wanted to take what Bumpy had built. The meeting happened at Rao's Restaurant, neutral ground, East Harlem, right on the border between their territories. July 15, 1948, 8 p.m. Bumpy walked in alone. No bodyguards, no weapons, just a black suit and a fedora. Lucky was already sitting at the back table with 6 of his men surrounding him. Protection, intimidation, a show of force. Bumpy sat down, didn't acknowledge the 6 men, just looked at Lucky. Lucky smiled, poured 2 glasses of wine. To business. To business. Lucky slid a piece of paper across the table. I'm opening 3 gambling houses in Harlem. 145th Street, 125th Street, and 116th Street. I'm giving you 20% of the take as a courtesy. Bumpy looked at the paper, didn't touch it. You're giving me 20% of my own neighborhood? Lucky's smile faded. It's a generous offer, Bumpy. You keep your numbers game. I just want the high-stakes gambling. The tables, the dice, the big money. Bumpy leaned back. And if I say no? Lucky's voice dropped. Then I open them anyway, and you get nothing. We can do this friendly or we can do this the other way. But those houses are opening next month. Bumpy stood up, didn't touch the wine, didn't touch the paper. Just looked at Lucky for 5 long seconds. You're making a mistake. Lucky laughed. The 6 men around him laughed too. Am I? Bumpy's voice was quiet. Harlem isn't Little Italy. You can't just walk in and take it. Different rules up there. Lucky leaned forward. There's only one rule that matters, Bumpy. Power. I have more men, more money, more connections. So unless you want a war you can't win, you take the 20% and say thank you. Bumpy turned and walked toward the door. Lucky called after him. Think about it, Bumpy. You got 1 week. Bumpy didn't turn around. I don't need a week. The answer is no. He walked out. Behind him, Lucky's face went dark. One of his men, Vincent the Viper Colucci, leaned in. You want me to handle this? Lucky nodded. Send 3 men, good ones. Make it public, make it loud. I want everyone in Harlem to see what happens when someone tells me no. Vincent chose 3 of Lucky's best killers. Anthony the Blade Russo, 32 years old, killed 17 men, preferred knives, slow and painful. Marco the Ghost DeLuca, 28 years old, 12 confirmed hits, specialized in making bodies disappear. Sal the Butcher Marino, 35 years old, 23 kills, Got his nickname because he once dismembered a rival and sent the pieces to 5 different boroughs. These weren't street thugs. These were professionals. Vincent gave them their orders on July 20th in the basement of Luciano's social club. You go into Harlem. You find Bumpy Johnson. You kill him in front of witnesses. Make it messy. Make it memorable. Lucky wants everyone to see what happens when you refuse his offer. The 3 killers nodded. When? Tomorrow night. Small's Paradise. Bumpy's always there Saturday nights. Anthony smiled. This'll be easy. Vincent grabbed his arm. Don't underestimate him. Bumpy Johnson didn't build Harlem by being soft. You go in fast, you finish it clean, you get out. Understood? Understood. Saturday, July 21st, 1948, 10:30 p.m. Small's Paradise was packed. 300 people, music loud, drinks flowing. Bumpy Johnson at his usual table in the back, reviewing the week's numbers with Illinois Gordon. The 3 killers walked through the front door. Anthony wore a long coat hiding 2 10-inch blades. Marco had a silenced .22 under his jacket. Sal carried a .45 and a meat cleaver. Insurance. They moved through the crowd slowly, eyes locked on Bumpy's table. 50 feet away. 40 feet. 30 feet. That's when Marcus Cole, Bumpy's head of security, saw them. 3 white guys in a black club, moving with purpose, eyes fixed on one target. He didn't shout, didn't draw attention, just moved. Quick Jackson and Raymond Lee saw Marcus moving and understood immediately. They flanked left and right. The 3 killers were 20 feet from Bumpy's table when Marcus tapped Anthony's shoulder. Excuse me, gentlemen, this is a private party. Anthony turned, saw Marcus, saw the 2 men flanking him, calculated the odds, changed his approach. We're looking for the bathroom. Marcus smiled. Wrong club. Exits behind you. Sal's hand moved toward his jacket. Marcus caught the motion. Now his gun was out. So were Quick's and Raymond's. 3 guns pointed at 3 killers. The music kept playing. Nobody else in the club noticed. Bumpy looked up from his numbers, saw the situation, stood slowly. You boys lost? Anthony's hand went to his blade. Fast. Marcus was faster. His fist caught Anthony in the throat. Anthony dropped, gasping. Marco drew his .22. Quick Jackson shot it out of his hand. The silenced shot was quieter than the music. Marco screamed, clutching his bleeding fingers. Sal pulled his .45. Raymond Lee drove his gun into Sal's temple. Drop it or die right here. Sal dropped it. The entire confrontation took 8 seconds. The band kept playing. The crowd kept dancing. Nobody noticed 3 white men on their knees with guns to their heads. Bumpy walked over, looked down at the 3 killers. You got names? Anthony couldn't speak, his throat crushed. Marco was crying, holding his shattered hand. Sal looked up, tried to maintain some dignity. We work for Lucky Luciano. Bumpy nodded. I figured. He sent you to kill me? In front of all these people? Sal didn't answer. Bumpy knelt down, looked Sal in the eyes. You know what the problem is with Lucky? He thinks Harlem works like Little Italy. He thinks he can send 3 shooters into my house and I'll just fall down dead. But this isn't his territory. These aren't his people. And I don't die easy. Marcus, what do we do with them, boss? Bumpy stood, thought for a moment. Strip them, search them. Take everything, weapons, wallets, identification. Then put them in the back room. I need to make some phone calls. By midnight, the 3 killers were tied to chairs in the storage room behind Small's Paradise. No weapons, no shoes, no dignity. Just 3 men who realized they'd made a terrible mistake. Bumpy sat in front of them, perfectly calm. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to send a message to Lucky Luciano, and you 3 are going to deliver it. Sal spat blood on the floor. He'll kill you for this. Bumpy smiled. He already tried. You're here. I'm not dead. So let's talk about what happens next. He pulled out a piece of paper and a pen. Started writing. The 3 killers watched, confused, terrified. What are you writing? Your eulogy. Anthony's eyes went wide. Wait, you're going to kill us? Bumpy didn't look up from the paper. Lucky sent you into my home to murder me in front of my family. Did you think I'd just let you walk away? Marco started crying again. Please, we were just following orders. Bumpy finished writing, folded the paper carefully. So was the man who killed my mother. So was the man who burned down my first club. So was every coward who ever did evil and blamed it on someone else. Following orders isn't an excuse, it's a confession. He stood up, put the folded note in his pocket. You came here to send Lucky a message. Mission accomplished. Now I'm sending one back. At 2 a.m., 3 black Cadillacs pulled up behind Small's Paradise. Bumpy's men loaded the 3 killers into the cars, still tied, still gagged, eyes wide with terror. They drove to a warehouse on the East River. Inside, 3 mahogany coffins were waiting. Custom-made, expensive, beautiful, the kind you'd use for a respected man's funeral. The 3 killers saw the coffins and understood. Anthony tried to scream through his gag. Marco passed out. Sal just closed his eyes. Bumpy walked in, looked at the 3 coffins, then at the 3 men. Lucky wanted to make this public, wanted everyone in Harlem to see me die. So I'm going to make this public too. But different. You're not going to die in the street like dogs. You're going to die with dignity. Then I'm going to send you back to Lucky in these beautiful coffins, and he's going to understand exactly what it cost to invade my home. Marcus, do it clean, 1 shot each, make it quick. The 3 killers were executed at 2:15 a.m., 1 bullet to the back of the head. Professional, clean, respectful. Then Bumpy's men did something unusual. They dressed each body in a black suit, combed their hair, folded their hands across their chests, made them look peaceful, like they were sleeping. Then they placed each body in a coffin, and on each chest, Bumpy pinned the same handwritten note. You sent 3 wolves into my house. I'm sending back 3 sheep. Next time you want Harlem, come yourself. At 3:30 a.m., a delivery truck pulled up in front of Lucky Luciano's social club on Mulberry Street. The driver knocked on the door. Vincent the Viper answered, gun drawn. What? Delivery for Mr. Luciano. Vincent looked at the truck. From who? The driver handed him an envelope. Just says B. Vincent opened the envelope, read the note inside, his face went white. Get Lucky, now. 10 minutes later, Lucky Luciano stood on Mulberry Street in his bathrobe, staring at 3 mahogany coffins being unloaded from the truck. Open them. His men pried open the first coffin. Anthony the Blade Russo, dressed in a black suit, hands folded, note pinned to his chest. Lucky read the note. His jaw clenched. Second coffin. Marco the Ghost DeLuca. Same suit, same position, same note. Third coffin. Sal the Butcher Marino. Same presentation. Lucky stood there in the 3 a.m. Darkness, surrounded by his men, staring at 3 coffins containing 3 of his best killers. Vincent spoke quietly. Boss, what do you want to do? Lucky was silent for a long time. Then he started laughing. Not happy laughter. The laugh of a man who's just been checkmated and knows it. What do I want to do? I want to send 100 men into Harlem and burn it to the ground. But I can't. Why not? Because Bumpy Johnson just taught me something. Vincent waited. Lucky looked at the 3 coffins. He could have dumped these bodies in the river, could have left them in an alley, could have sent them back in pieces. But he didn't. He cleaned them up, dressed them nice, gave them expensive coffins, treated them with more respect than I would have treated his men. That's the message. Lucky picked up the note from Sal's chest, read it again. You sent 3 wolves into my house. I'm sending back 3 sheep. Next time you want Harlem, come yourself. He's calling my best killers sheep. And he's inviting me to come personally if I want Harlem bad enough. It's a challenge. Vincent frowned. So what do we do? Lucky folded the note, put it in his bathrobe pocket. We send Bumpy Johnson $50,000 in cash and a message. What message? That Harlem is his. We don't touch it. We don't send men. We respect the boundary. Vincent couldn't believe it. Boss, you're going to let him get away with this? Lucky's eyes were ice. He didn't get away with anything. He won, fair and square. I sent 3 killers into his house, and he sent them back in coffins with a note that'll make every boss in New York think twice about crossing him. If I retaliate now, I look weak. If I accept the loss and pay the tribute, I look smart. A smart man knows when he's beaten. The next morning, Illinois Gordon walked into Small's Paradise carrying a briefcase. Boss, you need to see this. Bumpy opened the briefcase. $50,000 in cash and a letter. He read the letter aloud. Mr. Johnson, you've made your point. Harlem is yours. No one from my organization will enter your territory again without your permission. The $50,000 is a gesture of respect. Consider it a tribute to the way you handled my mistake. I sent wolves. You sent back a message. Message received. Respectfully, Lucky Luciano. Illinois whistled. He's paying you tribute? Bumpy closed the briefcase. He's buying peace, smarter than I expected. So what now? Now we make sure every gang in New York knows what happened. 3 coffins, 3 notes, $50,000. The message is simple. Harlem belongs to Bumpy Johnson. Anyone who forgets that ends up in a nice coffin with a note pinned to their chest. The story spread through every borough in 48 hours. Lucky Luciano, the most powerful mob boss in New York, sent 3 assassins to kill Bumpy Johnson. Bumpy killed all 3, dressed them in suits, put them in expensive coffins, and sent them back with a note that made Lucky pay tribute. For the next 15 years, no Italian mob touched Harlem, not because they couldn't, because they remembered the 3 coffins. They remembered the note. They remembered that Bumpy Johnson didn't just win fights. He won them with style, with message, with respect. Even his enemies got mahogany coffins. That was the difference between Lucky and Bumpy. Lucky ruled through fear. Bumpy ruled through respect. And when respect meets fear, respect wins every time. Lucky Luciano died in 1962. At his funeral, they found something in his personal effects. A note, folded carefully, kept for 14 years. You sent 3 wolves into my house. I'm sending back 3 sheep. Next time you want Harlem, come yourself. He never came. If this story showed you the difference between a boss and a king, hit that subscribe button. Drop a like if you believe Bumpy Johnson sent the coldest message in mob history. Comment below. Would you rather rule through fear or respect? Next video, the time Bumpy Johnson walked into a police station to turn himself in and walked out with the commissioner's badge. Remember the names: Anthony Russo, Marco De Luca, Sal Marino. 3 assassins who learned that Harlem doesn't belong to whoever's strongest. It belongs to whoever's smartest. Rest in mahogany.